Good morning, dear members. Welcome to another session on intricacies of joint Hindu family. It would be taken by Advocate Bhaskar Rao Award. He is a renowned lawyer in Pune as well as he is an academician. We welcome him on behalf of Pune branch as well as Ahmednagar branch of WRC of ICI. Today we also have with us Chairman for Ahmednagar branch, CA Kiran Bhandari. CA Dr. S.B. Zavre sir is there to guide us. CA Chandrasekhar Chittaye, Central Council member, he is there. I now request Kiran Bhandari sir to please address and give his opening remarks.
Sir, Kashinath Pathare, secretary, is also there.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and I am very much thankful to Pune branch for taking Ahmednagar branch along with you for this session, which is really an interesting session, I think, in the practice. As the clients comes to us, every time they think that yes, the chartered accountants are very much familiar with the laws and they will guide us in the family settlement issues and all the issues relating to the families. And this topic, how much you deal with, there are every time different issues comes to us and we have to settle in our own fashion, but we don't have the legal insights, and Award sir will really guide us in this issue for giving us the technical knowledge, and this will enrich everyone. I am again thankful to Pune branch, all the office bearers. I am also welcome Zavre sir and Central Council member Chittaye sir for this session. Thank you very much.
Yes. Now, may I request Zavre sir to please give his opening remarks.
Okay. Good morning to all of you. First of all, I am thankful to Advocate Bhaskar Rao Award for immediately accepting our request for the webinar on Hindu joint family and the succession. Thank you, sir. I will actually, it is a pleasure and pride for me to introduce this eminent lawyer who is practicing more than 50 years. He is in practice since 1968, already enjoyed Golden Jubilee. He is our pride from Ahmednagar district. He is not only a teacher, but he is a seasoned professional, a social worker, educationalist, and he has the proficiency in the law subjects. I am very proud that he is practicing in district court, high court, and Supreme Court also. Not only that, it's a pride to know that he is also an arbitrator and settlement for inquiries with the Inquiry Commission. I think his another facet may not be known to many professionals or many people who have joined today's this webinar. He is a professional of books and articles, and he has a special interest in literature. He is also a poet. He is a founder trustee of MIT. He is a friend, philosopher, and guide of many, and he has many fan followers. So it is pride for all the chartered accountants today to have this eminent advocate with us. My dear friends, few days before I talked with Chandrasekhar Chittaye, the Central Council member, that Hindu undivided concept. Many young chartered accountants, especially, they get confused. There is no clarity. Sir, young chartered accountant, we start a practice. At least I receive number of calls. Sir, how to form Hindu undivided family? Right. I said, where is the question of formation? There is no agreement. It is not agreement between the parties. You and I cannot become a member of Hindu undivided family. They don't know that it is by status, either by birth or by marriage or by adoption. Therefore, the concepts of Hindu undivided family, basic foundation, they have no clarity. Hindu undivided family is very important for a chartered accountant. Under section 2(31) of the Income Tax Act, HUF is a separate taxable entity. And therefore, every chartered accountant must understand what is HUF. Many times the question is also asked, sir, why only HUF? Why there is no Christian undivided family? Why there is no Muslim undivided family? Why there is no Jew undivided family? And I said, that question, rather than that question, we have to first understand what is Hindu undivided family. Then they asked me, sir, what is Hindu undivided family? Can you just give a brief? I said, very simple. Hindu, whose father is Hindu, whose mother is Hindu, he is Hindu. Number one, undivided, common living, common worship, and common dining are three attributes of undivided. And I said, family is nothing but a plurality. However, this concept is not so simple. And the sir is going to talk about, he is going to give the formal understanding of HUF. He will also give the clarity. In many states, who has also given a right to a daughter to share the ancestral property. Especially in Maharashtra, there is the daughter has a right. And therefore, my dear friends, today's session, we are going to talk about that what is Hindu undivided family, what are the schools of thought, the Mitakshara school of HUF, Dayabhaga school of HUF, which school we belong to. And sir, there another problem arises, which I request sir to clarify. They are confused with Hindu joint family and Hindu undivided family. Because they don't know, understand co-personally in particular. For example, mother and a daughter can be a Hindu joint family, but it is not Hindu undivided family. Only by one Supreme Court case, Shekhar is aware that the mother is treated as Karta for a limited purpose to manage the property on the death of a Karta. So in order to deal with the various tax aspects of HUF, it is necessary for us to understand the basic conceptual framework of Hindu undivided family. Just for the information of Bhaskar Rao Bhatt, sir, chartered accountant is financial doctor. Chartered accountant is financial engineer. Chartered accountant is financial architect. I also say with humor, chartered accountant is financial lawyer. And a chartered accountant is business solution provider. What was talked by Kashinath, yes, chartered accountant doesn't, Karan talked about, the chartered accountant doesn't deal with only the taxation, but he also is a business solution provider, and therefore, even for settlement of any other financial advisory, chartered accountant is involved, and therefore, today's conceptual webinar is very important, and I'm glad that eminent advocate is with us. Thanks to Pune branch of WIRC and Ahmednagar branch of WIRC, Abhishek Dhamne and Kiran Bhandari, as well as Kashinath Pathare, for arranging this very important webinar. And thankful to you. And in case I request participants, today's webinar is only on basic understanding of HUF, and therefore taxation aspects of HUF will take a separate session. And Chandrasekhar and I will be dealing with that session separately. I request everybody, every participant who has any queries, right hand side, you will see on the screen, there is a private. Please put your questions on the chat. So at the end, for last half an hour, all the questions will be answered. Thank you, sir. Back to Chandrasekhar Chitale for his opening remarks.
धन्यवाद. Namaskar, Jawhare sir. Awad sir, welcome to this webinar. Chairman Pune branch, Chairman Ahmednagar branch, Secretary and Treasurer Pune branch Abhishek Dhamne, Kiran Bhandari आणि काशीनाथ पठारे, आपलं देखील स्वागत आणि हा खूपच चांगला वेबिनार ऑर्गनाइज करण्याबद्दल आपल्याला धन्यवाद. जावरे सर, आपण बघत असाल की जेव्हापासून लॉकडाऊन चालू झालाय तेव्हापासून पुणे ब्रँच खूपच वेगवेगळ्या विषयांवर आणि चांगले चांगले वेबिनार्स अरेंज करते. आणि त्याच्यामुळे सगळ्या मेंबर्सना त्याचा फायदा होतोय. आणि केवळ पुण्यातलेच नाहीत तर पुण्याबाहेरचे, महाराष्ट्रातले, महाराष्ट्राबाहेरचे देखील चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट्स त्याचा फायदा घेत आहेत. अहमदनगर सारख्या ब्रँचेस देखील त्याच्यासाठी आपल्याला मदत करतायत. त्या देखील वेगवेगळे सेमिनार ऑर्गनाईज करतायत. कारण जर घरी बसून आपण आपलं ज्ञानात भर नाही टाकली तर हे घरी बसण्याचं जे काय आपल्याला फलित प्राप्त झालंय त्याचा आपण सदुपयोग केलाय असं म्हणता येणार नाही. जावरे सर आणि आव्हाड सर, आपल्या माहितीसाठी मी सांगतो की 26 तारखेला एक आम्ही राष्ट्रीय स्तरावर लीडरशिप समिट ऑर्गनाईज केलंय, ज्याच्यामध्ये लंडनहून ऍडव्होकेट हरीश साळवे जे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट देखील आहेत ते सहभागी होणार आहेत. पुण्यातून रवी पंडित आहेत, तसंच निरंजन हिरानंदानी आहेत, दातार सर आहेत, अरविंद दातार, आणि असे मान्यवर वजियानी सर आहेत. आणि हा राष्ट्रीय स्तरावरचा कार्यक्रम वास्तविक पाहता पुणे ब्रँचनी ऑर्गनाईज केला होता. आणि पुणे ब्रँचचे जे कोण हरहुन्नरी चेअरमन आहेत ते जरी आज पुण्यात नसले, 40गावला असले, तरी संपूर्ण लक्ष त्यांचं पुण्याकडेच आहे आणि पुण्यासाठी ते खूप मोलाची कामगिरी करतायत. आता इतक्या मोठ्या व्यक्ती येणार म्हटल्यावर आम्ही असा विचार केला की पुणे ब्रँचसाठी करायच्या ऐवजी आपण तो राष्ट्रीय स्तरावर केलो, म्हणजे सगळ्यांनाच त्या कार्यक्रमामध्ये सहभागी होता येईल, त्याचा आस्वाद घेता येईल. त्यामुळे हा जो काय कार्यक्रम होतोय त्याचा सिंहाचा वाटा हा आपल्या ब्रँचचा चेअरमनचा आहे आणि त्याबद्दल मी त्यांचं अभिनंदन करतो की तुम्ही आज हे आपल्याला जाहीर करताय. जावरे सर, आपल्याला माहिती आहे की आज कोविडच्या ह्याच्यात डॉक्टर्स चांगली कामगिरी करतात, पोलीस चांगली कामगिरी करतात, तेव्हा मोदी सर सांगतात की तुम्ही थाळ्या वाजवा, टाळ्या वाजवा आणि त्यांचं अभिनंदन करा. मी आपल्याला विनंती करेन की माझं बोलणं झाल्यावर तुम्ही लोकांना आवाहन करा की पुणे ब्रँचचे चेअरमन, मॅनेजिंग कमिटी, अहमदनगरचे चेअरमन, त्यांची मॅनेजिंग कमिटी यांच्या या कार्यासाठी आपण देखील एक 30 सेकंद टाळ्या वाजवाव्यात सगळ्या सभासदांनी, असं आपण आवाहन करावं. Before I proceed, see, we are going to understand the Hindu undivided family, what it is. And it is my limited endeavor to give a background that why we should as a chartered accountants know the Hindu undivided family. If one refers to section 4 of the Income Tax Act, it states that if any central act provides that income tax shall be levied at a rate or at various rates, then the income tax shall be levied on the income as calculated under provisions of this act earned by the person. Now, who is a person? As Zaure sir has pointed out, the person is defined in section 2 subsection 31. And if you refer clause B, the clause B includes in the definition of person Hindu undivided family. So as far as income tax is concerned, Hindu undivided family is a person. Then if we move to Annual Finance Act, you will find section 2 subsection 1 states that income tax shall be levied as per part 1 of the first schedule. And if you refer table A in that particular schedule, you find that that particular paragraph A tells us these rates of taxation are applicable to individuals, association of persons, etc. and to Hindu undivided family, which we popularly have seen that up to 2,50,000, 0, 2,50,000 to 5 lakh, 5%, 10%, and those rates are there. So definitely rates have been prescribed for the purpose of Hindu undivided family. Hindu undivided family is a person, and therefore for the purpose of taxation, one has to address the income of Hindu undivided family. Now, why there should be income to undivided family? Because you will know that if supposing there is a person who is having income of 5 lakh rupees, 2,50,000 being limit, he will be exposed to tax. So it is natural instinct to save the tax. So if there is a Hindu undivided family and which earns 2,50,000, individual earns 2,50,000, both of them will not be paying tax. Even if you have more income, this basic limit of 2,50,000 will be available additionally to the Hindu undivided family. You can have deductions like ATTTA, ATC additionally. So these are various facets of income tax law which makes us understand what is Hindu undivided family. Again, there is a partition of Hindu undivided family. Those provisions are also there. Under Hindu law, there is partial partition, there is total partition. But then earlier this partial partition total was also recognized under Income Tax Act. But then as observed by eminent jurist N.A. Palkiwala, considering the tax advantage which is available for the Hindu undivided families, in those years, there were more HUFs than Hindus. and therefore law had to take some cognizance, and this partial partition has been now de-recognized under the Income Tax Act. So these are various facets which make us necessary that we should understand what is meaning of Hindu undivided family. In case of income tax law defines person under section 231 to include Hindu undivided family, but law does not explain what is Hindu undivided family. Now, what is law? After all, law is codified customs. Now, all customs may not be codified. So wherever customs are not codified, we have to understand the customary meaning. And that, unfortunately, is not available in our curriculum. So today, we have with us Bhaskar Rao Awad, Honorable Advocate, to tell us what is this concept of Hindu law, what is the custom. To some extent, customs get codified. Maybe Hindu Succession Act will have some bearing on this concept of Hindu law. But wherever the law is not codified, we will have to go by customs, and we need to understand those customs. Because if we understand the customs, we understand HUF, and if we understand HUF, we can utilize it. Or if the HUF is already there, we can consider it for the purpose of taxation. आता भास्करराव आव्हाड साहेबांविषयी झावरे सरांनी सांगितलेलंच आहे आपल्याला त्यांची माहिती. ते 1968 सालपासून लॉचा आपल्या सगळ्यांना शिकवणी देत आहेत. म्हणजे आज 50 वर्षापेक्षा अधिक काळ ते लेक्चर्स देत आहेत आणि त्याचा आपल्या सगळ्यांना नक्कीच फायदा होतोय. महाराष्ट्रात किंवा देशात जो कोणाला कायद्याची काही जाण आहे त्या सगळ्यांनाच आव्हाड सर हे माहिती असतात. त्यामुळे त्या दृष्टिकोनातनं मला देखील आव्हाड सर हे खूप पूर्वीपासून माहिती होते. पण त्यांच्या भेटीचा काही माझा योग नव्हता आला. नुकताच आम्ही एक 8 मार्चला प्रोग्राम ऑर्गनाईज केला होता आणि त्या निमित्ताने ते त्या समितीचे अध्यक्ष होते आणि त्या समितीमध्ये मी पण आहे. तर आमचा प्रत्यक्ष भेटीचा योग आला आणि आव्हाड सरांचे हे वेगवेगळे पैलू आमच्या लक्षात आले आणि बऱ्याच वकिली व्यतिरिक्त सामाजिक संस्थांना देखील ते मदत करतायत. त्यांनी विपुल पुस्तकं देखील लिहिलेली आहेत, ती मराठीमध्ये देखील लिहिलेली आहेत. त्यामुळे आपल्यासारख्या महाराष्ट्रातल्या लोकांना त्याचा सोप्या शब्दात कायदा किंवा बाकीच्या काय कायद्याच्या बैठक आहे ती समजायला खूपच फायदा होतो. जसं आव्हाड सर पुण्यात किंवा भारतात लेक्चर देतात तसंच आव्हाड सरांनी परदेशात देखील USA असेल, जिनिव्हा असेल, पॅरिस असेल किंवा स्पेन असेल अशा देखील ठिकाणी लेक्चर्स दिलेली आहेत आणि ते देखील एन्शंट ज्युरिस्प्रुडन्स, पीस अँड व्हायलन्स, ह्युमन राईट्स, इंटेलेक्च्युअल प्रॉपर्टी अशा सारख्या विषयांवर त्यांनी लेक्चर्स दिलेली आहेत. झावरे सर कालच आपली एक मीटिंग झाली त्याच्यात आपण एज्युकेशन संबंधी एक गट तयार करतोय की जे जगात किंवा कंपन्यांनी काय गोल्स असावेत एज्युकेशन संबंधी. तर त्याच्यात आव्हाड सरांचं देखील शिक्षण क्षेत्रात खूप विस्तृत काम आहे. त्यामुळे त्यांचा देखील आपल्याला सल्ला घेता येईल आपल्या या ग्रुपच्या जे काही आपल्याला काम करायचंय त्या दृष्टिकोनातनं. आणि हे जे काय आव्हाड सरांचे वेगवेगळे पैलू आहेत त्यामुळे त्यांना भाषणाची विनंती करण्यापूर्वी मला एक भाऊसाहेब पाठणकरांचा शेर लक्षात आला तर तो मी आपल्याला सांगतो की जसं सांगितलं तसं आव्हाड सरांनी लेक्चर्स दिलेली आहेत. ते त्यांच्या ऑफिसला गेले तर ते आपल्याशी मनमोकळेपणे बोलतात सुद्धा. कायदा असेल किंवा सामाजिक विषय असेल त्याच्यावर ते आपल्याला मार्गदर्शन करतात. त्यांनी पुस्तकं लिहिलेली आहेत. ते वेगवेगळ्या ट्रस्टवर कार्यरत आहेत. त्यामुळे त्यांचा छाप ही संपूर्ण आपल्या दुनियेवरच उमटलेली आहे. आणि त्यात भाऊसाहेब पाटणकरांनी म्हटलेलं आहे त्यांच्या बाबतीत की नुसतेच ना दुनियेत तुझ्या, म्हणजे परमेश्वराला उद्देशून हा शेर आहे. नुसतेच ना दुनियेत तुमच्या आलो आम्ही गेलो आम्ही, नुसतेच ना दुनियेत तुमच्या आलो आम्ही गेलो आम्ही, भगवान तुझ्या दुनियेचं काही देऊनी गेलो आम्ही, भगवान तुझ्या दुनियेचं आम्ही देऊनी गेलो काही. शायरी तुला अर्पण गेलो माझे सर्वस्वती, शायरी तुला अर्पण गेलो माझे जणू सर्वस्वती, दुनिया विसरेल तुला भगवान ना आम्हा विसरेल ती. आव्हाड सर तुमच्या बाबतीत बोलायचं झालं तर काही कुठल्याही परिस्थितीत आपले कायद्याचे जे काही प्रोफेशनल्स आहेत किंवा सामान्य लोक आहेत ते तुमच्या या योगदानाला कधीच विसरणार नाहीत. तुम्ही आमच्या वेबिनारला आलात त्याबद्दल आपलं स्वागत आणि आम्ही आता खूपच उत्सुक आहोत की आपण आम्हाला मार्गदर्शन करावं. धन्यवाद. झावरे सर.
करायचं सुरू?
हो सर. झावरे सर आपण बोलणार आहात काही?
नाही, थँक्यू. नो प्रॉब्लेम.
Okay. Chitra sir, thank you so much for your kind words. Yes.
Sir,
Over to you, Awad sir.
Good morning, all the participants and viewers. I must thank all the organizers that organize such useful programs during these days of no work. Now, today's subject assigned to me is intricacies of Hindu family. And now, let us forget for a while what Hindu family as understood by taxation laws is. Let us first understand what Hindu and Hindu family is. As rightly said in the beginning by C.A. S.B. Jhaure, that Hindu family cannot be created by any agreement, any contract. And here, I will not use the term HUF for a while. I will go by the term HJF, Hindu joint family is the real family. The system of Hindu law, as it is rooted in religion, its origin is in Vedas. When the humanity was created, the Almighty dictated them their dharma. And this dharma in those days was understood as achara and vyavahara together. That is spirituality and temporal part together. Temporal part we call the dharma today. So Vedas, and which was heard by the humanity, that is Shruta, is Shruti. And when these four Vedas and Smriti were the original source, and in the run-up time they were found to be sufficient to cope up with the requirements, then people approached the Rishis and sages for further explanations. And these sages, they claimed or said that what was spoken by the Almighty, much of it was forgotten by the humanity, and that what was forgotten, now they remember. Smrut, remember, and therefore Smriti. This way, more than 350 Smritis are in existence today, while we are now concerned only with few. First Smriti, Manusmriti. In Manusmriti, a rule was stated that when a person dies, his property shall go to his sapindas. Today, what we call heirs, the term used by Manu was sapinda. Now, what is sapinda? In days of Manu, perhaps was not doubted by anybody. But in the run-up time, the question was what sapinda means. One Rishi Jumutvahan, who was in Bengal, wrote a smriti on Manusmriti, and therein he interpreted sapinda to mean giving religious efficacy, that who gives more religious efficacy or benefit for attainment of salvation. That was Daibhak Smriti of Jimutvahana, while Vijnaneshwara was writing another Smriti wherein he interpreted the term, this sapinda, to mean the nearness of blood propinquity. And in these two systems, heirs were different. Today also in Bengal, they are called Daibhak Hindus and their heirship is different. While on Yajnavalkya Smriti, Vijnaneshwara wrote a commentary which is known as the Mitakshara. And this Mitakshara today is prevalent in all over India except Bengal. So today in India, there are two systems. One is Mitakshara, one is Daibhaga. In Daibhaga system, only heirship is there. While in Mitakshara, that is what we are discussing, that is, there are systems of separate property, self-acquired property, and ancestral property. And rules are applying differently. Now, so far, Hindu joint family, that is to say, the male-oriented system, wherein a common ancestor is there, all the descendants of a common ancestor, plus the wives of the male members who are married into the family, and unmarried daughters. A daughter, when married, is transferred into the husband's family. All these people who are joint at board and joint in worship constitute a Hindu joint family. It is not necessary for a Hindu joint family to possess or own any property, or as the definition goes, as it would be rightly remembered, that there can be a undivided family even of beggars. There is no need to have any property. The family doesn't have any limitation of any generations. All those who are living together and who are following Hinduism, they are a joint family. While if in Hindu joint family there is a joint property also, then the question arises that Hindu law in past, first we consider before 1956. Before 1956, Hindu law did not consider women to be the owners of family property. And if there was family property, it was vesting only in males. The concept of family property, as is technically known as ancestral property. Ancestral property means property that is inherited from a male ancestor, is ancestral in the hands of his son, son's son, and son's son's son, or co-partially is constituted of this ownership. So these four generations in which the ancestral property is vesting, ownership is vesting, they are called co-partially. So co-partially exists within a Hindu joint family. In joint family, there are co-partners as well as there are others who are not the co-partners, like females, as well as co-partnership at a time is limited to 4 degrees only. That is to say, a holder got property from his father, father's father, or father's father's father is in his hands with reference to his son, son's son, or son's son's son. Degrees. And so long this co-partially is existing, nobody can say my share is so much, because the property of the co-partially is owned by all, as it is called essentiality of the interest. Each owns whole, all together whole. So suppose that if there is a family of a father and 2 sons, it cannot be predicted what is the share of a particular person. Each owns whole, all together whole. Or here, so as to understand from your point of view of taxation, keep in mind that there are 2 types of properties all over the world as they are recognized. There can be a co-ownership or there can be a joint ownership. In co-ownership, the shares are already defined. Say that there is a partnership or 2 purchase a property together. The shares are either stated in the instrument or equal. While in a Hindu co-partially, shares are, and that is called joint ownership. Because of joint ownership, here a sole surviving co-partially. The moment he begets a son, son becomes, it does not wait till the death of the father. By birth he gets a right, and father were to die. There is no property without owner, succession, there is survivorship. So in a co-partially, interest by birth and passing of the property by survivorship system. In this system, the co-partners had a right to claim partial as to property or partial as to persons. So I want to have partition. S1 says I don't need partition, go together. S2 is separated. Or some properties may be partitioned and some may partition while family house may continue to joint. Accordingly, it is to be understood. Now, in these properties, the property which is acquired as ancestral property and partition is claimed. Here again, understand important thing that in other laws, including taxation laws, we understand partition as a division of property. While in Hindu law, partition does not necessarily mean division of property. The moment partition is demanded by a competent person, partition is effected. So even if after demand of the partition, there are changes in the family, the shares are defined. So suppose that a S3 who says he wants partition, the moment he makes his intention known to others and particularly to the Karta, Karta is always a senior most member of the family who is managing the property on behalf of all. Now, the moment this unequivocal intention to separate is communicated, at that moment, definition of share is there. So, in Hindu law, partition first means definition, and then division is consequential. That is not affected by once the definition is there. Now, once these things are seen, in Hindu, persons who can claim partition and persons who are entitled to a share on partition are again different. Here, suppose that there is a son and there is a son's son also. So, son's son is also a co-partner, but so long his father is joined with his own father, he does not have a right to claim partition unless his father consents to that. Likewise, if there is a father and son, and there is a partition claimed by the son, in a partition between father and son, holder's wife is also entitled to a share equally with son, but she is not entitled to claim partition. She has to wait till partition is claimed by a competent co-partner, then she gets a share. Now, in this thing, till 1956, this way it was going on. In Hindu law, prior to 1930, there were two types of properties. One was ancestral, that is property which is inherited from father, father's father, or father's father's father, and other was separate. Separate property was that property which may be inherited from or received from any person from outside the family. That is to say, maybe some maternal uncle giving some gift, or some friend giving some gift, or some properties presented, or government grants could be there. In all such cases, that separate property was individual property of that member, though he was member of joint family and a co-partner for co-partnership property also. While in 1930, an act was passed, and need for that act was, suppose that the rule in ancestral property is a doctrine of blending and doctrine of nucleus. Rule is that if nucleus is all acquisition is ancestral. So if some portion is given by way of capital to a member, and out of that capital he makes a fortune, all that acquisition also becomes ancestral. Or if separate property is allowed to mix up with ancestral property without reserving claims to separate property, it's get blended into ancestral property, and that also becomes ancestral. So, taking benefit of this, in some cases it was said that father had educated a son out of ancestral funds, and after education, this son has acquired a fortune. Therefore, this fortune is out of nucleus of ancestral property, and hence it is also ancestral. It was said it is too much, because if son has educating a son, betterment of the child is duty of the family, that cannot be said to be investment. And therefore, in 1930, the British Parliament passed an act for India, and it said what is known as Gains of Science Act or Gains of Learning Act of 1930. Therefrom, if because of your education, technical knowledge, a person acquires with his own efforts any property, that is self-acquired property. So from 1930 onwards, there are three types of properties now: ancestral property, self-acquired property, and separate property. In self-acquired and separate, the holder is absolute owner. The others do not have any interest in that. But in this system, there was a very big fault that female were not done any justice. They didn't get anything except maintenance and marriage expenses. Therefore, in 1937, Hindu Women's Right to Property Act was made, and by that, the widows were given some limited rights of ownership. This continued till 1956. But after 1950, a new inquiry began. New query began that now there is Constitution of India, equality is sought. Why injustice to women? Women are not given right, and therefore the Hindus, for the first time in 1955-56, what is known as Hindu Code, accepted 4 acts. First was the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, and in 1956, what we are concerned today with was the Hindu Succession Act. Now, this Hindu Succession Act, its main object was to do justice to women, and particularly to daughters, mother, and widow. Here, therefore, in the Act of 1956, Section 6 of that Act provided that this Act, Succession Act, will not apply to Hindu co-partnery, and if a co-partner dies, his share will pass by survivorship as traditionally it was going. However, if the deceased has left behind a female heir of class 1 or a male heir claiming through such female heir of class 1, that is, in short, in this Act, heirs were classified as class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4 heirs. So, if there was a daughter, mother, widow of the deceased, or son's daughter, the daughter, son, or daughter, in such cases, a female heir of class 1 was there, and then the share of the deceased was passing under this Act and not by survivorship. Here again, important thing to be seen is, take for instance a case that there is a Hindu who is having a wife, a son, and a daughter. Now, a Hindu dies, leaving behind the widow, son, and daughter, and property is ancestral. So daughter said, I have got a share equally with the mother and son now. While son was telling her that who is dead is father. There was a co-pastory, property is ancestral. And in co-pastory, the son was entitled to property equally with father. Therefore, he is also owner. And mother also said, when there is a interest partition, in that case, mother is entitled to share equally with son. And therefore, in Section 6, a proviso was provided for, which created a revolution. This proviso was that for ascertaining the share of the deceased, dead person, a notional partition will be effected, as if he claimed partition just before his death. And if partition just before his death is made, then in that case, what would happen? That the holder was entitled to 1 share, son as a co-partner was entitled to 1 share, and the mother, holder's wife, was entitled to 1 share because there was a partition between son and her husband. So, husband's share was 1/3 on partition, son's share was 1/3, and widow's share was 1/3, and this 1/3 of the father was the subject matter of succession now, wherein mother or his female heirs got equally. So now, when daughter is getting her share, the 1/3 father is the property available for succession. This 1/3 now will go again equally among son, daughter, and widow. So there being 3, 1/3 of 1/3 is on succession. So son got 1/3 on partition and 1/9 on succession. Widow got 1/3 of partition and 1/9 on succession. So 4/9 each. While daughter got 1/9 on succession only. Therefore, even if this Act provided some relief to men, that relief was marginal. Another important change was brought by this Act, which our law is also important. That is Section 14 of this Act, Hindu Succession Act 1956. Under Section 14, the women were declared to be the absolute owner of the property which they were possessed on the appointed day. So, since appointed day, women are having absolute ownership. all that property which is possessed by a female, as a Hindu female, on that date, absolute property, and it passes under section 15 and 16 under the rules made for female succession. Now, when this was so, a demand was always there that all right, justice is done to females, but it is marginal. That daughter is getting very marginal share, and therefore hardly they are pressing for their share. That is just a paper measure. Therefore, in 1994, the Maharashtra state and some other states took a lead. And in 94, in Maharashtra, this amendment to the Central Hindu Succession Act was made. And in that section 29 ABC, a provision was made that from the commencement of this amending act, daughter of a co-partner shall become a co-partner. And she will have the same rights and liabilities as that of a son. So this was again a revolutionary. However, a provision was made that daughters who were married at the commencement of this act were excluded, as well as if there was a partition made before the commencement of that act, that partition was valid, it was not disturbed. Now, when this amendment was made, as you know, in case of immovable properties, for succession or for transfers also, lex situs rule applies. That law of the place where property is situated. And therefore, suppose that a family having property in Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, then for Maharashtra property, this amendment applied. For rest of the property, it couldn't. And therefore, the center also thought that this initiative taken by Maharashtra is important one, and let us follow that. Therefore, in 2005, the Central Parliament made an amendment to Hindu Succession Act, and today you are discussing that act as amended in 2005 by the Central Amendment. Now, after Central Amendment, Maharashtra Amendment does not apply because it is included in the Central Amendment. And this Central Amendment, very important to note, now it says that on and from the commencement of this amendment, a Hindu daughter shall by birth become a co-partner. And she becomes a co-partner equally with son, having all the rights and liabilities with incidents of co-partnery in the co-partnery. So now she gets equal share on succession, on partition and everything. However, this provision has created certain problems and doubts. One such problem or doubt is that if a father dies before the commencement of the amendment of 2005, that is 9/9/2005 commencement, if he was dead before that, one rule of law, rule of property law, property jurisprudence is that succession is never in abeyance. The moment a person dies, immediately property is disposed of. At that moment, whatever the law was there, according to that law, succession will take place. Or, as I put always, to remember it in simple way, that property is disposed of before the body of the dead is disposed of. Now, if that was so, all those successions which took place before 9/9/2005 are excluded, thereafter it applies. And today, it is this way that if a father dies after 9/9/2005, then in that case, daughter gets equally with the sons. However, some doubts were raised. And in Supreme Court, when some cases were there, in those cases, the problems were that in one case it was said that if daughter was married before 1956 or born before 1956, whether she is included in the amendment of 2005. The other doubt was that if a daughter is already married before 9/9/2005, whether she also becomes co-partner. And the total ratio of all these cases, instead of taking you in confusion, it can be said this way, that only two conditions shall be satisfied. One, father is living on 9/9/2005, daughter is living on 9/9/2005. If these two conditions are satisfied, a daughter becomes a co-partner and she gets equal rights in co-partnership property. Now, one important thing that we lawyers in civil law and you chartered accountants in your income tax laws, a problem we always face is something like this, hoping that all understand Marathi also, that a person dies and if there are immovable properties, city survey or 712 extracts are there, and then a Talati village officer, he makes an entry that so and so dead on so and so date, survived by his heirs, widow so and so, son so and so, daughter so and so. Names of all are entered. They are all owners now. Few days pass and then a document comes before the village officer, and the document entitled as Hakka Sod Patra or relinquishment deed, and therein the copy paste in computers now we write, the daughter is writing that my father celebrated my marriage in so grand a manner. I am so happy in my own husband's family. Myself and my brother, I love my brother so lovingly from heart, and therefore my share in the property I hereby relinquish in favor of my brother. Now, this relinquishment deed is presented before the village officer, and village officer makes an entry that according to this Hakka Sod Patra or relinquishment deed, the name of the daughter is deleted and son is getting the property. Now, a statement I am making, and this is important for all of you. The statement is that all Hakka Sod Patras made by a daughter after father's death is illegal. Hakka Sod Patras after father's death would not be legal, as well as Hakka Sod Patras after daughter's marriage will also not be legal. The reason for this, as it will be always, because every day in and day out such type of transactions are taking place, even registered instruments, they are also not valid. The reason therefore is that the theory of relinquishment is when a person has superior right and another person has inferior right under the superior right, then the person holding inferior right can relinquish, giving up. Relinquishment does not create a title or transfer a title, it only gives up title. Suppose that a person, landlord, grants you a lease for 50 years, and after 10 years the tenant says, I cannot afford to pay the rent, therefore I relinquish. Very well, even if you go out, nothing will happen because the owner has the superior title, he owns the property. While in this case, when father is dead, section 8 applies of the Hindu Succession Act, and his share is worked out, property definite shares, and once it is in definite shares, as one of the judgment of Supreme Court in Uttam versus Saubhag Singh says, that in such cases the notional partition effected section 6(3) with section 8 applies, and thereafter co-partnership terminates so far that daughter is concerned. So if now she is not in the co-partnership and her share is defined, how that will pass? By relinquishment deed. That will need a transfer deed only, whether it is gift deed, whether it is sale deed, whatsoever, but a transfer deed, not relinquishment. And to support this, you will also consider in your returns, assessment, inquiries, etc., that the title to the properties is regulated by the Land Revenue Code, Maharashtra Land Revenue Code. In Maharashtra Land Revenue Code, as we always say, that the concept of sovereign, all the territory of India is vested in the sovereign of India. If this is so, how a particular servant number can belong to you? It is under the sovereign we are holding inferior right. Superior right is the sovereign. Therefore, in 712 extract, nobody describes you as owner. You are called dharak or occupant. that state assessment is the permanent rent you are paying to the state superior title. And therefore, in section 55 of the MLRC, there is a provision that if an occupant dies leaving behind no known heirs, under doctrine of escheat, his property passes to the state. म्हणजे लक्षात ठेवायला, जिसका कोई नहीं उसका कलेक्टर होता है, तिथे कलेक्टर येईल. मग हे जर होत असेल, if the daughter merely relinquishes and there is no co-parcenary now, in that case, by relinquishment, title will not go to the brother. At the most, it may go to the state. And hence, all these relinquishment deeds are bad. They are illegal. And now, since you people, right from the beginning, you were talking about HUF, and I was talking about HJF. HJF does not have personality. Co-parcenary is a person. HJF is not a person. HJF is a social group. As villagers are a social group, Hindu society lives in a family social group. While under your section 2, that clause 31, the HUF has a personality, a limited personality for Income Tax Act, special law. As in tenancy law, definition of family is different. The persons who are family, HUF, under IT Act are not co-partners under the Hindu joint family even today. Suppose that when you recognize HUF as a legal person for limited purpose taxation, it can be assessed as assessee, taxes can be recovered. However, if there is a daughter, two widows, but they are not co-party. Even today, do not be co-party, and do not the concept of HUF in Tax Act with the concept Hindu family. In actual Hindu, we can conclude by saying that the concept of Hindu joint family, that is, all of those people descending from a common ascendant living together and being Hindus. Here again understand the term Hindu. Though Jains, Sikhs, Buddhists, they differed from original Hinduism so far spiritual part was concerned. God आहे की नाही, कशी भक्ती करायची ह्या भक्ती मार्गामध्ये. But they did not differ in the temporal part of the dharma, and therefore today even these rules of succession or rudi or custom, these apply to all equally, and therefore today whenever we consider Hindu law and Hindu Succession Act, it includes HJBS, Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs. And in India, Hindu law is a lex loci. Therefore, the definition goes this way, that if a person belongs to any other religion, he will be governed by his religion. And if he does not belong to any other religion, presumption in India is he is a Hindu, and Hindu law will apply to him. So when with these aspects we apply Hindu law, here the traditions, what is called usage and custom, in Hindu law custom has a special meaning, that as it is said, rudi, usage is a practice, while custom is that practice or that usage which has acquired a binding force. It is accepted as a binding force, and therefore in Hindu law custom has a special meaning. The rule is dharma rudi baliyasi. That is to say, custom is stronger than dharma, and therefore you will find in South aliya santan law, etc. In family system, different laws apply even today, and they are also governed as Hindus. Therefore, Hindu law as it stands for income tax purposes is different, and that is only for that special law. While today also the point you will find, suppose that two brothers, widows are there, and for your purposes they are running business and you are assessing them as HUF. Nevertheless, the proposition would be, if tomorrow questions of succession arise, the income tax will not apply, And in that case, Hindu Succession Act will govern the situation, and what class of heirs, class 1, class 2, class 3 agnates, class 4 cognates, that way it will go on. Now, when we have discussed this, now I think it is time for you to ask me questions on the Hindu family system, intricacies thereof, and Hindu Succession Act. You can ask some questions on HUF also, so far Income Tax Act is concerned, but I do not claim any expertise in taxation laws, and therefore, if any question which I cannot answer, certainly I will ask Shivaji Rao Zavre to answer those questions on my behalf. Please proceed.
Sir, there are two questions. One is about state of HUF in Kerala state, because as I understand that in Kerala they have abolished passed law for abolition of Hindu undivided family. Kerala राज्यामध्ये in Kerala state.
Hello, ऐकायला आलं नाही काय?
In state of Kerala, this Hindu undivided family, I understand, is abolished by law.
Yeah, custom.
No,
आता आपल्याकडे जो Succession Act. Hello.
What he is saying, in Kerala, there is a Hindu Abolition Act. So there are no Hindus in Kerala.
HUF.
And so whether
it is not that way.
Hindu joint family,
these are called the sects.
Family in Kerala.
HUF abolition, Hindu abolition.
Yeah,
HUF
here it is that there are sects and subsects of Hindu law. These sects and subsects follow different practices and different rules. Therefore, they will go differently. So far succession part is concerned, for income tax purposes, it is central law applying all over India to all people equally. It applies equally even to the Daibag Hindus also. It is limited for that purpose. Anything else?
No, and when if the HUF is partitioned, can after some years there will be reunion of that HUF?
Ancestral property partition.
Zavre sir, if you understand it.
No, HUF is when there is a partition in HUF, the HUF comes to an end. However, partition of HUF, whether amounts to partition of SJF or not, will be another question. Because it is possible that in a Hindu joint family, there may not be any HUF. Or in one Hindu joint family, there can be more HUFs than one. So HUF can be between husband and wife also, while there is no co-pastorship between husband and wife. This being the proposition, even if today daughter is made a co-pastor, wife is not made a co-pastor. And therefore, for your income tax purposes, HUF between husband and wife is recognized as person, while under SJF, Hindu joint family, husband and wife cannot constitute a co-pastor. Accordingly, these laws are to be applied.
And daughter will be member of two HUFs, his husband's HUF and father's HUF.
Husband and wife partnership deed.
No. Daughter will be a member of two HUFs. One is husband's HUF and one is father's HUF.
No. Now, you are on a very good thing. That can be a great deal of litigation hereafter. And this particularly, I didn't touch that subject because maybe that you were youngsters, some of whom had been asking me that we want to create a HUF, what type of document there should be. And I had to tell them that HUF cannot be created by any agreement. However, the real point that you are asking is, suppose that for a co-pastor, first condition is that you must be member of a joint family. And joint family means all the descendants of a common ascendant plus wives of the male members minus daughters married out. So suppose that a daughter becomes co-pastor. And after becoming a co-pastor, daughter is married. When daughter is married, she becomes a member of husband's family. If now she is given her share by father whatsoever, if you say when she becomes member of husband's family, nevertheless she continues to be family. Then in that case, in father's family, she is claiming a share as co-partner. In husband's family, if she gets a son or daughter, again, husband may have ancestral property, and she will again be, there will be a co-partner in husband's family. माता तिचा मुलगा जर मामाला सांगायला लागला भाचा म्हणून की मी तुमचा कोपास्टर आहे कारण माझी आई तुमची कोपास्टर आहे, किंवा एखादा तयार मामा तर भाच्याला सांगायला लागला की बाबा रे तुझी आई माझी कोपास्टर आहे, तू तिचा कोपास्टर आहे, तू बापाचा कोपास्टर आहे तुझ्या, म्हणून मी तुझ्या बापाचा कोपास्टर आहे, हा प्रश्न अमेंडमेंटनं सोडवलेला नाही. आणि म्हणून ह्या टाईपचे लिटिगेशन इथून पुढे येणार. आणि खरं म्हणजे आम्ही सजेशन करतोय लॉ कमिशनला की आता कोपास्टरी एकदा संपून टाका. इट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, ओनली सक्सेशन ऍक्ट इज सफिशियंट. पण आपण असं बघतो की आपल्याकडे कायदे करताना सुद्धा का आणि कसे केले जातात हे प्रश्न शिल्लक असतात आणि ते शिल्लक राहतात, म्हणूनच कदाचित जास्त केसेस निर्माण होतात. आणखी काय?
I request participants to please write down your questions on the private chat. सर तोपर्यंत मी एक प्रश्न विचारतो. One simple question.
हा विचार.
I am not a Hindu right now, but he want to opt for Hinduism. He want to opt for Hinduism. He is Christian. So he want to become Hindu. So he changes religion. When this will be under Hindu Succession Act property? At what generation?
Right. Got it. So, on this, there are two different things to be understood. Suppose that a Hindu husband marries a Christian woman. Whether that wife changes her religion or not, the child born is Hindu. That is one aspect of this difference. Second thing, if a Hindu changes religion or a person who is belonging to other religion converts into Hinduism. So if that person happens to be a wife, woman, then she becomes a member of the family of the husband. Likewise, if a male person converts into Hinduism, now by that conversion, to what family he will belong? Because his father and others are belonging to that Christian religion, so he alone becomes a Hindu. No doubt, Hindu Succession Act will apply to him. But Hindu family law will not apply to him unless he were to marry someone and he were to beget children, and then only Hindu joint family will come into existence and so on. आणखी काय? जावरे साहेब, आपल्या प्रश्नाचं उत्तर मिळालं?
Yes. Abhishek, any questions from participants? Right now on the private chat, there are no questions. So whenever there are no questions, there are two things possible. Possibility number one, there is no doubt at all. You explained very well. And possibility number two, anything.
What I request,
they are not.
Sir, if you can see the instead of private chat, just see the comments. You would see lot many questions are there.
Where I can't see, sir. Where questions?
Comments.
Comment. Where to see?
Live comment. If you are able to see, you can ask.
Yeah. Okay.
Please.
So, yes. The two Shankar is asking.
Okay.
That. Just a minute.
Yes.
Here are some.
questions.
आम्ही क्वेश्चन वाचू का?
Oh, sir. Live. You can see the live comments, and you can answer one question. Yes, please.
Sure. मग आता इथे एक कुठले राहू
The question is, two brothers after the death of father, if they start living separately, can the father's HUF be continued until partition deed for distribution of HUF assets?
Abhishek, it is better that you can read and answer properly. Arvind sir, you are there.
Yeah.
Avinash sir is there, no? He can help, no, sir?
हो आहे सर.
Right side, there is a light.
सर आता एक प्रश्न इथे असा आहे, एक आशिष जैन म्हणून आहेत, प्रश्न विचारलाय असा, हाऊ मेनी HUF कॅन बी क्रिएटेड? आय हॅव सीन इन्स्टन्सेस where for one person are created. Is it right? For example, XYZ HUF, XYZ and sons HUF, XYZ and wife HUF, and so on. त्याचं उत्तर.
The answer to this will be that what Mr. Ashish Jain has asked, that as I in the beginning said, that in a Hindi there can be more HUFs than one. Therefore, any group which is just commercially engaging its activity, which can be assessed for income tax purposes, that can be recognized as HUF. Only thing that Hindu joint family cannot be created by agreement, and HUF also requires that you must be members of Hindu joint family. Unless you are Hindu joint family, you cannot constitute an HUF also. There are HUFs in the family. The other question is,
पुढचा क्वेश्चन एक आहे, JMT and Associates अंधेरी यांचा.
Before
If father
that,
dies before in the name of father, then whether married daughters can claim.
वरती आपण असं सांगून तो.
हा काय चित्र काय?
So the
sir,
question
before that,
is,
just
if
I want to
father
react
dies
to
before
first
9/9/2005,
number of
property
HUFs.
still.
जो एक मिनिट आवडतं, जो जैननी प्रश्न विचारला होता की किती HUFs असू शकतात, तर तो हिंदू लॉ प्रमाणे आपण उत्तर दिलेलं आहे. टॅक्सेशनचा आम्ही दुसऱ्या सेमिनार मध्ये त्याचा विचार करू. टॅक्सेशनला थोडं वेगळं ऍप्लिकेबल आहे.
गुड. आणि आता हा जो दुसरा प्रश्न आहे की father dies before 9/9/2005 but property still in the name of father, इथं आपण ध्यानात घ्या की vesting of the property, as I said in the beginning, is never in abeyance. Property immediately vests on the death of a person into the heirs. Entries made in record of right have nothing to do with that. Or now suppose that for this purpose, that a father dies on a particular date after 9/9/2005. At that very moment the father died, the property is vesting in definite shares in daughters also. Maybe that entry is in record of rights years. Entry in record of right is not a subtitle. Entry in record of right is effect of title, and therefore wrong entries in record of rights are not entries in record of rights does not defeat your title. Or for that purpose, just remember one rule, that so far succession law is concerned, never die together. Or by way of example, if we take it this way, father and son going in a car, meet and both die together, and there is no evidence who dies first. Our rule is that elder dies first, younger survives the elder, and therefore first succession will be of the father. When son is there, he will take his share, and then he dies with his property and share got from father, and second succession will take place. It goes on that way. In this case, daughters who were there, even if their names are not entered in record of rights, they got their shares defined the moment father died, and therefore their shares will not be defeated. Next one is
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन आहे दिलीप किकावट यांचा. सर, इफ रिलिंक्विशमेंट ऑफ राइट्स बाय married daughters is not valid, which documents need to be executed by her to transfer her rights in HUF property to her brother?
खरं म्हणजे असं की हा नेहमी त्या कायद्याला बगल देण्यासाठी केलेला प्रयत्न असतो. That daughter should not get the share. The transfer includes, under Transfer of Property Act, there can be a sale deed, there can be a lease deed, there can be a mortgage deed, or there can be a gift deed. However, gift deed also needs, under the Transfer of Property Act and Registration Act, the stamp duty to be paid. आणि मग स्टॅम्प ड्युटी भरायला लागू नये म्हणून हा मागचा मार्ग काढला जातो, बॅकडोर एंट्री, रिलिंक्विशमेंट डीड, हक्क सोडपत्र. Therefore, हक्क सोडपत्र cannot be valid. You will have to make gift deed, transfer deed, etc.
And register. पुढचा क्वेश्चन आहे सुशील गुंजे, his wife and daughter is there.
Of whom?
Between
आपण हक्क
Now the
सोडपत्र
property is consisting of husband, wife, and their daughter.
नाही ते विचारताय चितळे साहेब.
स्टॅम्प ड्युटी जी आहे,
काय प्रश्न काय म्हणताय आपण?
स्टॅम्प ड्युटी जी आहे ती आता ब्लड रिलेशन मध्ये 500 रुपये केले ना, आणि काय 1-2% एफबीटी वगैरे
प्रश्न कसा येतो,
500 रुपये केले ना इन्व्हॉल्व प्रॉपर्टीचे.
जिथे जिथे फर्स्ट डिग्री मध्ये ट्रान्सफर असते, म्हणजे थोडक्यात आपण असं म्हणू की फादर सनला डॉटरला देत असेल तर ड्युटी येते, बाकीच्या रिलेशन्स मध्ये वेगळी येते, जी काय असेल, पण ती ड्युटी भरून जर डॉक्युमेंट केलं असेल ट्रान्सफर डीड प्रमाणे तुम्हाला, किंवा डॉटर आला आहे, डॉटर मॅरेज झालेलं नाही on 9/9/2005 and now she wants to relinquish. It is possible because so long co-parcellary continues, each owns whole, all together whole, and therefore even if one goes out, there is no question of property. Without owner, no succession is required. आणखी एक क्वेश्चन आहे शंकर टेक चंदानी, why HUF can't be partner in a firm. आता इथे दोन प्रश्न यांचे आहेत की already a family business is there. This family business is assessed for income tax purposes as HUF, and this wants to become a partner with an outsider. Now, the outsider thing would be a partnership regulated by the Indian Partnership Act. Now, under Indian Partnership Act, again, the partnership till LLP concept was introduced was not considered as person. It was commensality of the persons, as we say, a company is a person, different entity than its members. While partnership is not so, each person, each partner is liable for the whole, unlimited liability. The members of HUF and the family, when they enter into such partnership, for assessment purposes, what will happen, you can discuss at your end. But so far family is concerned, that will not, the third parties will not become the members of Hindu joint family. पुढचा प्रश्न मिस्त्री यांचा आहे.
मैं सप्लीमेंट दिस आंसर.
कॅन अ फॅमिली,
त्यांना काहीतरी
हा काय म्हणता आपण?
हा नाही, कसं आहे की आपण म्हणता ते बरोबर आहे. इन्कम टॅक्स पर्पज साठी जनरली कर्ता एंटर्स इन टू पार्टनरशिप अँड विथ अनदर पर्सन. So Supreme Court has rendered a judgment that for general law it will be Karta who is recognized as a partner, and because the beneficial interest, because he has invested family funds in that this partnership, there is overriding title of partnership over the profits of that particular share of profit from partnership.
That is so, and so far Karta, concept of Karta is concerned, that has also undergone a change after 9/9/2005. And now there are rulings to this effect. Suppose that in a family, normally senior most male member was Karta because he was co-partner. Now daughter also has become co-partner, and if she is senior most in the family, she also can become a Karta, and on behalf of family she can act. Now here is Jayachandra Misri. Can a family following Jainism form HUF? Now, as I said, that so long Hindu law is concerned and Hindu joint family is concerned, the term Hindu includes Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, and Sikhs. It applies to them equally. And trading families, if they are there, then Jainism, they also can form HUF. There is no bar. The next question is Varsha Sawant. Sir, if Hindu daughter married to a Buddhist person, whether Hindu succession law will be applicable to the married daughter? Answer is yes, because Buddhism is only a sect of Hinduism. म्हणजे भक्ती कशी करावी आणि देव आहे की नाही ह्या बाबतीमध्ये वाद झाले म्हणून महावीर वेगळे झाले किंवा बुद्ध वेगळे झाले, पण त्यांनी टेम्पोरल लॉ बदलला नाही. सक्सेशन कसं असावं, मॅरेज कसं असावं हे नाही बदल, तो आज हिंदू लॉच लागतोय. आणि म्हणून आपण असं म्हणतो की टर्म हिंदू in Hindu law includes Hindu, Jain, Buddhist, Sikhs. So if a Hindu marries a Buddhist woman, it is within Hindus and it doesn't affect anything.
Decision of
Uttam versus Saubhag Singh,
can HUF consent?
can HUF consent will survive? It is a very good question. It is by Chartered Accountant Nagesh Mahindrakar. It says that after the decision of Uttam versus Saubhag Singh, can HUF concept survive? Here, first to understand what this Uttam versus Saubhag Singh is, that in this case, Justice Nariman, he had rendered the judgment, and it was said because of Section 6 as it amended by 2005 Act, Clause 3 thereof says that once Section 8 applies, co-pastory terminates. And if co-pastory has terminated, then thereafterwards, how there can be an HUF? The answer will be two ways. First, this will happen so far the daughters or female heirs are concerned, their shares are defined, they become absolute owners under Section 14 and they will go out of the family. But suppose that a family consisted of a father, two sons and a daughter, and succession took place. Accordingly, under Section 8, the daughter's share is worked out. These two sons who got 1/3 each, now they decide to reunite. And co-pastory law continues even today. One of the incidents of co-pastory is, even if the parties have divided, subsequently, by their act of behavior, they can come together and continue to be a joint family, a co-pastory. Therefore, the statement in Uttam versus Saubhag Singh is correct to that extent application of the rule of law, but it is possible for male members, even after that date, to have a reunion of the family. Next question is Shankar Tekchandani, Mr. Shankar Tekchandani. Two brothers after the death of father, if they start living separately, can the father's HUF continue until a partition assets? आता इथं two brothers after the death of father, if they start living separately, can father's HUF continue until the partition deed for distribution of HUF of assets? When you say that they start living together means what? Because mere residence is not the test. A joint family continues joined even if some members are in Bombay, some members are in Pune, and some are in Delhi. So long there is no division, it is a joint family, and therefore, so long there is no termination of joint family, the HUF can continue. Sagar, Krishna said.
नाही, बाकी काय आहे का कोणाची विचार झालं?
आणखी काय आहे का? आणखी कोणाचे प्रश्न आहेत का? हा खालचा एक अपूर्व गायकवाड
ते परत ते सगळे याच्यात झाले. हा घेतला.
वरचा जो आहे तो समतानी का काय? If father dies, how does his only daughter get? Here there is one more question. Mr. Suresh Samtani is, how does his only daughter, married now, get the kartaship? Just try to understand it this way, that when father died, before that, according to you, his daughter was married during his lifetime. And after father's death, under the new provisions of the amendment of 2005, father's property, she being the sole surviving heir, had passed to the daughter. Under section 14 now, she becomes absolute owner, and question of any joint family or the co-partiality does not arise because she is the only member. Then
रुलिंग आहे का रिलीज डेट प्रॉपर नाही
अच्छा.
रुलिंग काही नाही
Devendra Lokhande. There is a question from one Mr. Devendra Lokhande. Sir, is there any case law relating to right and title not transferred to brother by the release deed executed by sister in favor of other brothers? Still now, there is no such case law. But whenever you need it, you can come to me, contact me, and I will satisfy you how to argue the matter and how to put up the matter. I have tried the cases wherein the properties were executed in favor of builders, even registered documents, and then also those documents were challenged. But in India, a ruling can be rendered only by the courts of record. And courts of record in India are High Court and Supreme Court only, whose decisions are followed as law in future similar deciding cases. While at that stage this has not yet gone, but that is certain, whenever anybody of you comes across such case, you just call me and I can give you the detailed explanation of this as to how this cannot pass by relinquishment deed.
आशीष खंडेलवाल साहेब.
Now there is one Ashish Khandelwal. In case of a HUF partition deed has been made, the property that comes to the son void this partition deed, does that come to the son in his HUF or in his individual capacity? Now the question would be that if HUF is there, but co-partiality is not there, SJF is not there. So for existence of HUF, co-partiality is not required. Joint family is required. And if suppose that there is a joint family, in that case it will pass accordingly. But if it was out of co-partiality, again rules of co-partiality will apply. Patrick Sandmore.
प्रतीक सांडभोर.
Pratik Sandmore, sorry. Where father is alive, but a partition has been entered prior to 9/9/2005, wherefore daughters have entered a relinquishment deed. Can the daughter post 2005 claim a share in property today? The question is whether if father died, but a partition has been entered prior to 9/9/2005. Amendment of 2005 says that unregistered instrument will not do. And if a partition has taken place before 9/9/2005, that partition is binding on that date, and whatever is the property left with the father, that property only can pass by succession to daughter or his heirs. Question: if wife not co-pastor into HUF, then how married woman can become co-pastor into HUF? One Bhushan Toshniwal has asked a question that if wife is not co-pastor into HUF, then how married woman can become co-pastor in the HUF? Here it appears to be some confusion in the question, but as I can read it, it is this way: a wife is not a co-pastor even today. Mother is not a co-pastor even today. Only holder's daughter, she becomes a co-pastor by birth, and this being the proposition, in HUF, even if they are considered, so long Hindu joint family is to be considered as distinguished from HUF, the concept of family and their status will be considered accordingly. Father who has only daughter, so are there any questions?
Suresh Samtani, sir, he is saying father has only a daughter. Can a Hindu undivided family property be transferred by will? Can Karta prepare a will of HUF property or Hindu joint family property?
The proposal, yeah, got it. Now, in a Hindu joint family
Yes, sir.
and co-pastory, every co-pastor has a right from beginning, prior to 1956 also, to pass his share by will also, or to execute a sale deed also of his share. It was open. While now, if a person makes a will or transfer deed, though he is a karta or manager, karta or manager can always transfer and sell or will away his share. But he is not sole owner of the property. He is a karta because there is a co-pastory. And karta's authority to transfer property of the co-pastory, which can be binding on all the members of the family or co-pastory, is only when there is a legal necessity of the family or there is benefit of estate of the family. Then in that case, he can enter into commercial transactions which are binding on other members also. Otherwise, by making a will, certainly, he can pass his share, but not shares of others, even if he is a karta.
Correct.
Satish Chippalkatti.
Yeah, Chippalkatti, Satish Chippalkatti, can father, by way of will, deprive daughter of her legitimate rights under 2005 Act? Certainly not. Because if under 2005 Act she becomes a co-partner, then whatever her rights as a co-partner are there, father making a will, by his will he can pass his share as a co-partner in the family, but not shares of us. Raj Yog.
नहीं आता.
No, no. संघमित्रा गायकवाड
घेतले अमित लंके झाले. अमित लंके.
Mr. Amit Lanke. If release deed is executed by sister in favor of brother, thereby relinquishing her share in favor of her brother, whether the son of the sister can challenge the release deed and claim share. Not only he can challenge the release deed, the sister herself can challenge, her heirs can challenge, because I have said that that relinquishment deed does not pass any title to the brother, and therefore property continues to be with daughter only, herself. किंवा आपण असं म्हणू की ज्याला आपण व्हाईड डॉक्युमेंट म्हणतो. If somebody is transferring any property without having any title, that transfer deed, even if registered, does not have any meaning. It is meaningless.
Why banks are denying to take HUF property as collateral security or denying?
Satyanarayan Maniar, a practical question. Why banks are denying to take HUF property as collateral security, denying to give loans to HUF? इथे खरं म्हणजे आता हा बँकेचा रूल ऑफ प्रुडन्स झाला की आपली काळजी आपण घेतली पाहिजे, कारण HUF मधून कोणाचे राईट काय येतील माहित नाही. मग याच्यामध्ये टायटल कोणाला आहे, और प्रॅक्टिकली ॲज वी से, whenever there are transfer deeds executed, suppose that a owner of a property is executing a transfer deed in favor of a builder, always, even if he is a karta, we say if there are any major members, co-partners, if the property is ancestral, let all of them be the consenting parties or executing parties, and banks are entitled to say that all those persons who are major, why they are not consenting parties, and in case of minors, the karta must show legal necessity and benefit of estate. Ashok. Smita Seth. can Karta or any other members transfer their self-acquired property to HUF by gift deed. Now, on this point, what Income Tax Act says, I am not clear. But so long Hindu law is concerned, separate properties can always be transferred by one member to other member or even to an outsider. That is open. Therefore, even in HUF, but HUF has to exist before, because HUF also cannot be created by any agreement. Therefore, in an existing HUF, whether it can be transferred or not, it will be a question of the experts. You expert people decide tomorrow.
Here, Dipti Modi.
Dipti
Sir,
Modi,
under the Income Tax Act, under the Income Tax Act, even co-partner transfer the property into HUF hotspot. The income arising from that property is not considered as income of HUF for taxation purpose, and it is clubbed in the hand of transferor. So, as such, there is no advantage from tax point of view.
त्याच्यातलं एक महत्वाचं असं ध्यानात घ्या की मगाशी मी जे आपल्याला म्हटलं डॉक्टरीन ऑफ ब्लेंडिंग किंवा हे सोपं लक्षात ठेवायला मी नेहमी असं सांगतो की समजा एखाद्या माणसाला साथीचा रोग झाला आणि मग टेक्निकली आपण विचार केलं की याला काय साथीचा रोग झालाय का, मग 10 चांगल्या हेल्दी माणसामध्ये याला नेऊन टाका, म्हणजे हा त्यांच्या हेल्थच्या संसर्गाने हा नीट होईल. असं होत नाही. ते 10 माणसांना संसर्ग होऊन ते आजारी पडतील. तसं ही अँसेस्ट्रल प्रॉपर्टी असा आजार आहे की याच्यामध्ये बाकीची प्रॉपर्टी मिक्सअप जर केली तर अँसेस्ट्रल राहते पण बाकीच्याला सुद्धा सामावून घेते. दॅट इज डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ ब्लेंडिंग, अँड देअरफॉर दॅट प्रॉफिट, एज यू सेड, इट गोज इनटू द को-पार्टनर. दीप्ती मोदी, if a property taken on rent. आपला काय प्रश्न होता?
नाही, त्याच्यात एक फक्त आहे की जरी समजा आता इफ गिफ्ट ऑफ से 1 crore rupees is made and you receive interest of say 6 lakh rupees, that 6 lakh rupee will be taxed in the hands of the person who is blending the income. But thereafter, whatever income you earn on 6 lakh rupees, that will not be blended. That will remain HUF income, even for taxation.
Yes, income on income.
Income on income, that will be.
Yes.
Dipti Modi, if a property taken on rent by a grandfather, continued in the name of father. Father died on 11/4/2005. Will the tenancy right be shared with married daughter also? Here, try to understand properly that so far the tenancies are concerned that unless tenancy becomes part of goodwill, point is, sometimes the goodwill also consists of place. Goodwill may consist of a name. So if goodwill is consisting of a place and the rented premises are there, in that case, that premises can be considered as property. Otherwise, the tenant is a tenant so far landlord is concerned, and in such cases, the tenant, even if tenant was HUF or rent was paid out of HUF, whether it was recognized by the landlord while granting the lease or it was in father's name. If it was in father's name, then HUF was, the tenancy rent was contributed by father in HUF. That will be the only effect. And if not contributed, then tenancy rights will not become part of the business. Shankar Tek Chandani, can we have a situation where HUF status under tax law continues as HUF but not an HUF under Hindu law? Now here, as I earlier said, that in Hindu law, we never consider HUF. In Hindu law, there is HJF only, Hindu joint family. And as I said in the beginning, Hindu joint family does not need existence of co-pastory and does not need existence of property. Therefore, the position in Hindu joint family is that they are living together, they are joint at board and joint in worship, that is sufficient. While in such cases, when HUFs are created, those are only for trading purposes, commercial purposes, and that is artificial diffusion. Say for your example, take Tenancy Act, Land Tenancy Act, or even your Urban Land Selling Act. Definition of family was there: husband, wife, and minor children. And if there are major, separate share. So these are special definitions under special laws, but main Hindu law continues to govern the position, and there you are to consider the SJF to be the parental body of HUF.
Sir, what happens as far as income tax law is concerned?
I can.
As far as income tax law is concerned, there is one section 171. So where under general law, even if the HUF is partitioned, for the purpose of recognition of partition under income tax law, if the HUF was assessed to tax, then it is mandatory to take order under section 171. If that order is not taken, maybe under general law, HUF is partitioned, but under income tax law, all those several portions will have to be joined and income will have to be returned as HUF income. So there is slight variation between income tax law and general law.
आता इथं खरं म्हणजे असं की आपल्याकडचा इन्कम टॅक्स ऍक्ट जो आहे की नाही, ते दरवर्षी तुम्ही त्याला जे अमेंडमेंट जे आणता तो मेन ऍक्ट पेक्षा जास्त असतं. आणि म्हणून जरी मी आता सुरुवातीला कॉमर्स मधला मनुष्य आहे, मी बीकॉम केलेला आहे, मी इंटरमिजिएट पर्यंत गेलो होतो सीएच्या, नंतर लॉ काम वाढल्यामुळे थांबलो, पण माझ्या स्वतःच्या केसमध्ये सुद्धा मी माझं रिटर्न भरायची हिंमत करत नाही, कारण दरवर्षी एवढे तुमचे अमेंडमेंट आलेले असतात.
त्याच्यामुळे
कमलेश मराठे. Respected sir, good afternoon. This is Kamlesh Marathe. Whether nomination of term deposit a property supersedes Succession Act. Here, nomination may be for term deposit. Nomination may be in a society for a flat, apartment, etc. Nomination is only for the purpose of next holder, not next owner, and therefore nominee does not become a nominee, only becomes a member in such cases. So suppose that if there is a term deposit, nominee means the property shall be paid, the term deposit shall be paid. But if there are claims of others as heirs or the co-partners, they can claim and they can have a share. Likewise, in a society, a flat of father is there and nomination is made. The flat after the death of father will go in the name of nominee, but that will not mean that nominee has become the owner. Whoever are the heirs shall become the owners.
Yes.
Anil Kedia.
If any
relinquishment deed. Hello. Anil Kedia. If any relinquishment deed already registered to which level the legal heirs of such people can challenge in the property who had executed relinquishment deed. The question is, once we say that relinquishment deed is valid or not, if relinquishment deed is valid, then in that case the question will be, suppose that take a case, daughter is living and father is also living, then the daughter can, so far she is unmarried, relinquish, it is valid. And if the son is born to her thereafter, then son's rights cannot go beyond his birth, and therefore he cannot challenge that. But if she is already married and she effects relinquishment after the death of father, in that case the son also can challenge it.
Suresh
Samtani, for getting Kartaship of HUF after father's death, is succession certificate required? The proposition is that, as I said, any certificates, any title deeds, these are not material. What is material is, suppose that a father dies. The moment father dies, from the next moment, senior most member in the family, in the co-pastory, has become Karta. So, how much is to be spent for the funeral of that father? That decision will also be taken by the Karta. Where is the question whether he has got a certificate or not? So his rights and his liabilities, they take effect even before any succession certificate is obtained. Succession certificate is consequential.
Manoj Kumar Babulal Agarwal.
One minute,
Manoj Kumar Babulal
what is
Agarwal.
happening, sir? What is happening? Bank, sir. What is happening? Ek minute, sir. What is happening? Bank people or bank officials doesn't understand the concept of Hindu undivided family. But whenever the bank account is opened, they get the information who are the members of Hindu undivided family or Hindu joint family. Now you said is absolutely right that even in case of the death, who is the next person? The next co-partner may be a minor or may be a son. If he is minor, the guardian will play. So as long as there is a signature of all the persons, automatically the name of next karta will come and succession certificate is not required.
The proposition. आता पुढचा क्वेश्चन आहे, Babulal Agarwal, after the death of Karta, husband, a son and daughter, both minor, can wife take over as Karta, and what will be the situation if first daughter becomes major after 15 years? The proposition, as we saw, that in 1955 there was Hindu Marriage Act, in 1956 Hindu Succession Act, likewise in 1956 two other Hindu laws are passed. One is the Adoption and Maintenance Act and the other is Minority and Guardianship Act. Under the Minority and Guardianship Act, if there is a minor holding the property, the father is the natural guardian of the minor, and after father, mother is the natural guardian in absence of father of the minor. However, if mother is a natural guardian, as guardian when she is acting, if she wants to alienate minor's property, she must obtain consent, approval from the district court, and then only she can enter into any transaction.
Next question is
SAJ. After the death of father, daughter's name was not recorded as self-acquired property of father in 1980. Brothers disposed the property in 2003. Can married daughter claim now? Answer is yes. I say answer is yes. Because in 1980 when father died, and you have stated that it was the separate property, self-acquired property. Even if it was ancestral property, under the 56 Act, she had got a share. And whatever share she got on succession, that under section 14 of Hindu Succession Act became a property, and how her property can transfer by say, or this is important thing, just give me one more minute, that in law, in jurisprudence, there is a rule that nemo dat code non habet. One who does not have cannot give. I cannot give a better title to you than what I myself has. Or suppose that a wrong entry is made in record of right. I had to deal with one such case where a wrong name was entered to the property, and then I had given an example to the judge saying that, my lord, if I have got a revenue department in my pocket and I get my name entered to some property, say Shanwarwada, and I transfer Shanwarwada to your lordship, whether you get title. Unless the transferor has title, transferee does not get anything. Registration document is not the source of title, and therefore in such a case, if she was entitled to a share, that share became defined. The moment father died, thereafterwards her share could not be alienated by anybody. She can challenge.
She will have to file suit.
In such case, if she is out of possession, she should file a suit and get it.
Ravi Kumar.
Ravi Kumar. Good afternoon, sir. Whether father can sell ancestral property without considering share of his son, daughter, and wife. Here, as I in the beginning said, that in Hindu law, joint family, there is a Karta. Karta has got some special powers. In these special powers, Karta can alienate ancestral property also only in those cases where there is a legal necessity. Now, legal necessity is daughter's marriage expenses, funeral expenses, paying family debts, well-being of the members, the maintenance of the members. These are legal necessities, or there is benefit of estate, that some property which is not beneficial to the family, he wants to dispose of that property and invest those funds elsewhere, which can give more and better income, that benefit of estate. In such cases, that transaction is binding on others, otherwise it is not. Manish Navandar, sir, can father's HUF give to son's HUF? Now here, so far, joint family is concerned. In case of joint family, father and son are members of the joint family. If there is a co-partnership, now in co-partnership, if the capital of HUF happens to be co-partnership capital, things will be different. Otherwise, such type of gift deed under Hindu law will be allowed. Whether under Income Tax Act it is allowed or not, it is for your expert to tell you.
पुढचा क्वेश्चन घेऊ का विचार?
पुढचा क्वेश्चन घेऊ का?
Sir,
Sushil Gunjal.
yes, sir.
Sushil Gunjal, what will be the effect of divorce on HUF? Very natural. That HUF, so far joint family is concerned, the moment there is divorce, the two persons are separate, joint family is no more there. Now, if joint family does not exist, whether without a joint family, HUF will exist or not, my answer would be no. Whatever your experts can give, that may be different thing. Please. Next question is Vaibhav Moholkar. A man has two wives. The son of second wife claims share in property of his father. What is the proposition? Thanks in advance. Okay. So now here, since 1955, before 1955, a Hindu was at liberty to marry as many times as he wanted, and simultaneously to have any number of wives. Since however, the second marriage is illegal under section 29 of that act. The children born of that marriage can trace their heirship to their father and mother. So far father mother are concerned, they can inherit their property, but they cannot claim properties from other members of the family because they are not legitimate children so long the Hindu Marriage Act goes. Next question is Shankar Tekchandani. Does law of limitations apply in respect of succession of an asset? If yes, how many years after death? The question is, law of limitation can apply only in case of adverse possession. So long my title is not denied by other members of the family. Suppose that a member of your family is in USA and others are here. He may be there for 30 years. It doesn't mean you are possessing adversely to him. But possession, if becomes adverse, and that is to say, adverse possession, it will be only when rights are denied. And overtly, openly, rights are denied and you are thrown out of the possession or right. Thereafter, within 12 years, you have to assert your rights. Otherwise, by adverse possession, title can be lost. Pratik Sandbor, Karta purchases property in the name of his wife out of HUF funds. Does the property become HUF despite the same is registered in the name of wife? Now, so long joint family law is concerned, I can positively say that if Karta, term Karta you are using, Karta is a term in Hindu joint family. And if in Hindu joint family, property is purchased in anybody's name, if the source of that consideration is ancestral property, then it is commensurate of interest ownership of all and not ownership of a particular person. Therefore, it will be common property. Anything else? Hello?
Sir, you are given so much lecture. You will see the comment. they want from you the discussions on will. Actually, they are so happy.
Hello.
They say Advocate Bhaskar Rao Award should give the lecture on will. How to prepare a will? What are the facets of will? What are the questions related to will? So we'll see. We'll contact you, sir, again. Over to Abhishek. Abhishek, we can.
That is,
yes, sir.
and topic of will may not be limited to Hindus only.
No. In general,
Topic
in general,
of will, you people in taxation also consider. In general, very good subject. And whenever you people, and you have a right, Shivaji Rao, whenever you want, you can tell
yes,
me what is to be done.
Yes, sir. Abhishek, over to Abhishek.
Thank you so much, sir, for your elaborate session on Hindu joint family. I now request CA Kashinath Pathare, Secretary and Treasurer of Pune branch, to please propose formal vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, all of you. I would like thanks to our sir for increasing our Hindu succession knowledge. We have very limited knowledge before this session regarding HUF and all income tax related provision. Thank you, sir. I also thanks to our Guru Zaure sir and Chitra sir for continuing support for arranging this type of webinar. Thanks all of participants for stay home, safe home. Thank you.
Yes. Kiran sir, you would like to say some concluding remarks?
Thank you very much.
Thanks to Zaure sir and Chitra sir for coordinating this session, and as well as the speaker who has fantastically solved the queries, every queries of the participants, and hope we will again join for the will session.
Sir, I would like to tell all the members also that in the evening we are going to have Honorable Commissioner of Police, Pune City today. We are going to interact with him regarding this COVID-19 situation, and also he's going to share what are the expectations from our CA fraternity. So I request all the members and all of the panelists also to please join for the session. That session would be followed by interaction with Dr. Prachi. She's from Ruby Hall. She's intensivist over there, and she's taking live cases. So this session is not for any CP or something, but to interact with them and understand the situation also. I am sure all the members would join. I thank all the panelists and all the members for joining in. Thank you so much. And sir, we would like to have your session once all this lockdown is over. Our sir, we'd like to have you at Pune branch, and we can deliberate over there on other aspects also. Thank you so much.
Abhishek, I thought that after the evening lecture, you will say it is followed by dinner.
Sir, I wish I could say that.
So, all right.
Sir, it will be followed by dinner, but at respective residence.
No, dinner.
I want to clarify that there are requests from members that request from members that CA services should be included in necessary services so that offices can be opened. But let me inform you, this particular subject is seized off by the central office, and president and other members are taking view on it. So at the moment, either any regional council or any branch is not taking any view, being a central subject. And at the moment, the thought process of president and the council is that the life of human beings is more important than work at the moment. Whatever we cannot finish within time, I think deadlines are getting extended. So let us not press for inclusion of CA services as essential services, because by essential services, there may be, say, medical services, there may be police, there may be certain other banking services, but definitely our services can wait. Maybe whatever we can do work from home, Pune branch and other branches are contemplating it. So maybe whatever best you can do from home, please do from home, but value your life and more so your clients and your articles and your staff life. So let us wait for our turn for government to declare that, okay, you can now resume, and then we will resume. Thank you.
Abhishek.
Thank you so much,
Abhishek.
all the panelists and
This-
members for joining. Thank you.
Abhishek, 1 minute. This session was fantastic. We must actually give a special thanks to Bhaskar Award. But this has created a lot of interest among the members, and there are a number of issues I can find out relating to taxation of HUF. Right? I am ready, along with Shekhar Chitale, to take the entire session on taxation of Hindu undivided family. So I request you, at the earliest, if we can plan for taxation of HUF in continuation to this session, all the members will get the opportunity. Please.
Surely, sir.
No,
Surely.
and Javre sir,
Yes, sir.
पोलीस किंवा डॉक्टर यांच्यासाठी मोदी म्हटलं मी नरेंद्र मोदीजी आपल्याला थाळी किंवा टाळ्या वाजवायला सांगतात. आपली ब्रँड सुद्धा चेअरमनच्या लिडरशिप खाली खूप चांगली काम करते. तर मी तुम्हाला रिक्वेस्ट करेन की तुम्ही सगळ्यांना आवाहन करा की आपण 2 सेकंड टाळ्या वाजवू आणि त्यांचा गौरव करू.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.